All right, this video is gonna show you how to foam roll and stretch your hamstrings. We're gonna start with foam rolling because that releases the fascia around the muscles, allowing them to relax in a stretch. And then we're gonna show you 3 different ways to stretch your hamstrings. We're gonna start in the front, over to the side, and then we will cross it over. So that's the refresher in a nutshell. If you just needed a reminder, if you wanna go through it real time with me, stay tuned because that's what's up next. All right, so to foam roll, you need a foam roller, and I prefer a high density, but if you're new to foam rolling, you're gonna wanna get a lighter one. And we're gonna start with it up on our glutes, so the squishy part of your butt, and we're just gonna go forward and backwards, and you can play around with the angle and where you put your hands to help you balance. But the reason we're starting with our butt is because our hamstrings insert, which means attach to muscles up there. So actually the origin, but anyway, so go ahead, if you find any tender spots, go ahead and hold onto them. So right now I've moved from my butt to right at the very top underneath my bottom. So we're gonna start there and think about just going back and forth. Again, like not so much like you would go fast and roll out pizza dough. Sometimes you feel like a little bit of a contortionist here. But you'll get the hang of it. I do find that the shorter foam rollers can be easier to manipulate and don't need as much floor space, but I do have a bigger one and I love that one. So I ran yesterday and I'm feeling like guitar strings in there. So depending on how you're doing, and we want to just hit the belly of the muscle. So make sure you also then lean to both sides, the inside and the outer side. Get a little of that IT band in there as well. And then since I was noticing so much tension right in the middle, I'm gonna do a little bit more towards the inner thigh here. Just back and forth. Kind of gets a little stretch while we're doing the foam rolling. So use that level of pressure that you can tolerate somewhat comfortably, and there shouldn't be any shooting pains. But it doesn't always take a ton of pressure. So, leaning a little bit more into your hands or away can really go a long way. And then I always make sure right down above my knee, like right here, it tends to get really tight. And you guys, you can pick up and move your foam roller around if you need to. But yeah, right there always gets it for me. All right, so hamstring has been foam rolled. Now, ideally, you would also do all the sides of your leg, but since this is a hamstring video, that's where we're gonna stop. And then if you have a slightly elevated surface like this, I would go ahead and do that versus keeping it on the floor. It just takes a little bit off your knee, and I think it helps you get a better angle for your stretch. So you can hold on to something if you need to for balance, but we're gonna start just shooting your leg out straight in front, and we're gonna go for about 30 seconds here. And so toes are lifted. You don't have to actively be pulling them by anything. You could use a strap if you wanted to deepen the stretch a little bit more, or a dog toy. Something like that can help you reach, can help get a little farther into it. And along with hamstring stretches, you'll usually feel something in your calf too. That's not unusual or uncommon or problematic. So keep that going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. So again, the strap's really optional. It can just help you get a little bit deeper into it if you need to. So you can always do the first one with the strap, then the second one, third one, or first one without, and then add it in later. Next, we're gonna take our leg and we're gonna move it out at an angle, probably about like a 20, 25, 30 degree angle. And same thing, you just want to hinge forward just like we did the first one. Keep the knees and the toes pointed up towards the ceiling. And again, you could still use your strap again if you want to get a little bit more out of this. I'm gonna warn you that my heel's on stone, that's pretty uncomfortable. I would wear shoes or have a match there because ouch, but I can continue. We'll pursue. And when you're stretching your hamstring, especially if you're a hypermobile person or tend to have loose joints, try to make sure you don't lock out the knee where it's overly straight. Your leg should be straight, but not where it's locked out. And so you might feel your quads firing a little bit here. That's totally normal. and it'll get less over time. You want to work on being able to release the tension in that for sure. But main thing is don't lock out that knee. Good. Okay, heel's really tight. Shake that out a little bit, and then now we're going to go back to the center and then cross the midline. Only do this if you do not have hip problems or have had hip replacement surgery or any artificial parts. But for our purposes, this is going to really focus on more of that outer hamstring stretch, and your IT band's going to love you too. So hinge forward as far as needed. Again, avoid locking that knee out. Keep some tension in there. We want to feel this in the back here. And again, I'm having a hard time pulling my toes up without the strap just because this floor hurts my heel. But you maybe have better luck pulling that up. But if not, totally use a strap. Use a towel, a band, whichever. So we're gonna hold each one for about 30 seconds, which at first feels like an eternity, and then it goes by pretty fast. And by the end, it feels so much better. Good. All right, now we just rinse and repeat with the other side. Back to our foam roll. Now you could totally foam roll both sides at first if you want. I find that sometimes if I start foam rolling and then I get bored and I stop and I don't actually get to the stretching, but I will not leave one leg unattended. So I just do one at a time from start to finish. That's how I do it. So again, starting with the glutes right up by where your hamstrings would insert. Again, try not to lock out your knees. I have super locky knees and elbows, and I didn't even know that was a problem until a few years ago. But maybe you're like me. They didn't know you had an issue. All right, let's find those guitar strings in here. All right, going down. Do you foam roll your hamstrings both? Yeah, I bet you do. All right, so one side might feel tighter than the other. My right leg tends to be a little bit shorter than my left leg when my hips get off. So it's not usually as bad. So starting up at the top, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and slide this down even. And same thing, I always start with my knee and my toes pointing up and then regulate the pressure just by adjusting how much weight you put on it. And then I will physically move it down farther. Sometimes. And always that spot right on the outside of my knee. It's not on the knee joint, it's not in the squishy part. It's that last little bit right there. Ooh, yeah. See those points where there's lots of tendons. Go gentle at first, obviously it's cool. And then make sure we get the outer portion, a little bit of an IT in there. And how often do we foam roll? I would say ideally every muscle every day, right? But probably a couple times a week. I usually foam roll, and this may surprise you, before I exercise. It's now part of my warm-up because it starts to get the blood flowing and actually enables my muscles to move better. So if I've gotten the tight fascia to build up around them, the muscles can't really extend and contract to their full potential. So I have found that I feel a lot better when I do that first. So you don't mind if I use this, do you? Okay. All right, we are back to our hamstring stretch. So straight in front of your hips. Again, just get that little hinge. Try not to lock out your knee. Mine always goes there and I have to correct it. So, ooh, right away it feels tight. I didn't feel too many guitar strings in there with my foam roller today, but right here, I can tell, like, by the end, this one was moving a lot better. So that's why we do it. That's why we do it. You want to use the strap? I can go forward with that. I like to put it just on like the top part of my arch, more around the bony part. That's where it works best for me, but sure, there's more than one right way to do that. Again, it doesn't take a lot of pressure. When you're stretching, I always say like 3 out of 10 on the discomfort scale. You should feel it, it should do something, but we don't need it to be extreme. We don't need to cause pain. You should be able to breathe. If you cannot breathe while you're stretching, you're not actually stretching. So get to a spot where you can breathe. All right, and move it out to the side here. Oh, this blanket's helping somewhat, but I should probably have made it even more. Being able to breathe in a pose, in a posture, in a position during a move, that is really important, especially when it comes to a recovery and mobility type thing like stretching and foam rolling. So focus on breathing throughout this. Again, don't lock the knees. Should be feeling this more on the inner part of your hamstring. Dun, dun, dun. Did you know there are 3 different muscles that make up your hamstrings? That's why it's called hamstrings, plural. There are 3. Compared to your quads, which have, you guessed it, 4. All right, last one. We're gonna cross the midline almost to the point of the other hip. Use that, you know, how you see fit. Some people can't stand their knees on hard floor. Those don't usually bother me as much as heels on hard floor. I don't know what it does. Anyways, again, you don't have to force your body into a position. We go for 30 seconds, which I know seems like too much, when like 2 seconds so you feel better, right? But that's how long it takes your Golgi tendon apparatus, part of your cellular structure, to release the tension in the muscle fibers. So there really is a reason to do it for 3 times. And if for whatever reason you don't like doing it in all 3 poses, you could just do it straight forwards 3 times. That's what I started and stumbled through saying with the strap, is you could do it 1 time without a strap, do the other leg, come back to it, add the strap. Once is better than none, but 3 is best. All right, we are almost there. Again, sometimes you see, like for old school aerobics, and I even just was doing it, like resting my hands there. Make sure you're not pushing on that, because that's really just going to exploit the tendons more than it's going to stretch the muscle. If you want to get a deeper stretch in the muscle, all you need to do is elevate your surface. So instead of it being there, of course your nose is right there. What you would do is you'd really just bring it here and then try to pull your hips farther back. You don't necessarily need to put more weight on the top. You know, the muscle is not going to make a U shape, a hammock shape. So avoid pushing down on that because it's not really helping the muscle relax anymore. Pulling on your toes with the strap is a good way to do it, but also just elevating what you stretch it on. If you find that standing up is uncomfortable, you can always do this kneeling. I usually have to balance more when I'm kneeling for some reason, but this is an alternate way to do it as well. You know, you could do this seated, you know, even in a chair higher than this as well. But again, try to avoid pushing on it. Really focus more on lengthening than adding a resistance, just because then it's going to mess with the tendons in your knee, and that's not what we're here for. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you will make hamstring stretching a more regular part of your routine. And if you have any questions, let me know.